Guess what, everybody? All of a sudden, the mainstream media loves whistleblowers again. How convenient is that? Let's talk about it. Thanks for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. So, all of a sudden, the mainstream media loves whistleblowers again. Well, let me be very specific. The mainstream media on the left loves whistleblowers again. Now, for obvious reasons, because this time it isn't benefiting the right doesn't really like whistleblowers at this very moment. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Now, this isn't the only time in history that this has happened. In 2010, when Julian Assange published the leaked information that implicated the United States in war crimes, well, the left loved whistleblowers then too, because it could be used against George Bush. But of course, we know in 2016, all of a sudden the left didn't really like whistleblowers that much. Because at that point, the whistleblowers, quote unquote, were exposing Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, the right loved them. You know, Trump even gave Julian Assange a shout out in his debate. And what that should probably show everybody, it's none of the sides actually like whistleblowers. Think of a whistleblower like a literal whistleblower, like a referee, right? Whenever the referee is giving the red card to the other team, oh, you love him. Oh, hell yeah. Get him off the field, ref. Love this guy. Favorite referee in all of football. Give him the red card. But if he calls a red card for your team, oh, no. That referee is the worst referee in the history of all of soccer. Get him out. Why? Because we only like the whistleblower when they're blowing the whistle for our side. It's kind of a natural thing. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way. But it is natural for people to behave that way. Now, what we have seen lately, though, well, not even just lately, but really since whistleblowers have become more popularized, is that the only time we will see the mainstream on either side of the fence, quote unquote, celebrate a whistleblower is if it is politically convenient to the narrative they are trying to push on us. But we can say with confidence that there is, no matter what side it is who likes the whistleblower at the time, a true whistleblower, a real whistleblower, is treated in one of a couple of ways. Exile or jail, or both if you're Julian Assange. This makes me think about the article that Caitlin Johnstone just wrote the other day regarding this situation with the Trump, Ukraine, quote unquote, whistleblower who just revealed so much important information that actually wasn't important at all. But all of a sudden, once again, we see the left fawning over whistleblowers, whereas not even a few months ago, they were castigating Julian Assange and saying that he's the reason we have Trump. And even though he's literally just a journalist, he's a publisher. So I want to check out this a piece of this article from Caitlin Johnstone, who always does some amazing work. She says, the word whistleblower has been trending in news headlines lately, but not for the reasons that any sane person might hope for. I feel you, Caitlin. I really do. Caitlin always uses some colorful language in her writings. I love her work. Read the whistleblower complaint regarding President Trump's communication with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, says the Washington Post. Trump responds to hearing on whistleblower complaint, says MSNBC. Trump Ukraine scandal. What did the whistleblower say and how serious is it? Writes The Guardian. Whistleblower complaint says White House tried to lock down call records, announces CBS. Whistleblower's complaint is a devastating report from a savvy official, declares CNN. So Caitlin continues to write, so Who is this savvy official? Who is this courageous whistleblower who boldly shone light of the truth upon the mechanisms of power in the interests of the common man? Who is this brave, selfless individual who set off an impeachment inquiry by taking a stand and revealing the United States president made a phone call in July urging the Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky to help investigate corruption allegations against Joe Biden and his son? Well, believe it or not, according to the New York Times, this brave and noble whistleblower, who the mainstream media are currently championing, is a senior officer in the CIA. The whistleblower is a senior officer in the CIA. I always put quotations around anything that has to do with intelligence because usually, if you've ever worked in intelligence, you know that's an oxymoron. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you all. I'm not saying that there has never been or has ever been a whistleblower that has come out of one of our intelligence communities. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am asking you is, how many people from our intelligence community have come out, blown the whistle, and got invited back to the intelligence community that same week? How many? I think just this one. Because Caitlin Johnstone goes on to write that the whistleblower who revealed that President Trump sought foreign help for his re-election campaign and the White House sought to cover it up, and alleges that the White House sought to cover it up, is a CIA officer who detailed to work at the White House at one point, according to 3 people familiar with his identity. The New York Times reports the man has since returned to the CIA. The people said little else is known about him. Well, how convenient is that? The mainstream media couldn't release his name. Didn't release his name. If this person is even real, by the way, because let's be clear about something. You can manufacture some story about this phantom person who doesn't really exist, and that transcript could have been quote unquote released by any number of people in the CIA, because this is what the CIA does. It's counterintelligence. In other words, whatever your narrative is, it's their job to counter that narrative to the interests of whatever prevailing oligarchical elite is calling the shots at the time for the United States. This person has been absolutely just applauded. A CIA official is being applauded by the left, celebrated by the left, for revealing what? Why didn't he reveal the fact that Trump had actually started this investigation over a year ago? Why didn't he reveal some actual facts regarding Hunter Biden and his corrupt affiliation with that Ukrainian energy company? The fact that that energy company is actually partnered with the Atlantic Council, and that Hillary Clinton was tied into all of this. What a surprise, right? Because all this stuff had to get cleared through her State Department. I did another video about that, by the way. You should go check that out. Why didn't the CIA official? That's what he's going to reveal. Oh, man, some transcripts. You know what? Before I continue, you know what? Pasta from the Convo Couch, also on the MCSC network. Don't forget to check them out and subscribe to their channel. Remember what Pasta said? And it's something that sat with me because I didn't even think about it until he said it. Pasta said, you know what bothers me most about all of this? I'm like, what? He said, now our presidents can't even have conversations with other leaders around the world without that getting politicized. With even that is getting politicized. In other words, who is going to want to broker deals with the commander in chief that clearly, like at least before, they had the image of appearing to be in control of their government. But now the rest of the world's leaders are watching and they're like, okay, so it's official. Basically, unless you're one of the leaders or one of the presidents who are going to screw over other countries, you have no control of there is no rule of law anymore. Because make no mistake about it, if that CIA whistleblower would have released transcripts about an ongoing investigation in any other circumstance, they would be in jail if they were an actual whistleblower. But now, because of all the political backlash, they're being celebrated, bruh. They're being celebrated. Let's not remind you that at this very moment, Chelsea Manning is still being fined $1,000 a day. She's still being fined $1,000 a day for refusing to give the same exact testimony about Julian Assange that she had already given. So in other words, she's not trying to, she doesn't want to fall victim to double jeopardy. And rule of law is being violated in order to keep her there just so she can potentially implicate herself for Julian Assange. Because understand something, if she says something different, even if it's by accident, one small detail could end up being considered perjury. And then they have her there on something else. And then guess what they say? All you have to do is say X, Y, and Z about Julian Assange. All you have to do is say that Julian Assange tried to hack this. All you have to do is say that Julian Assange stole this from you. All you have to do is say Julian Assange. And then that's how they get you. That's what they do. It's our corrupt justice system at its finest. So right now, Chelsea Manning, an actual whistleblower who revealed actual war crimes, people. Chelsea Manning is being fined $1,000 a day after finally getting her life back on track just because she doesn't want to put herself in double jeopardy. Edward Snowden right now is literally just at this point, he's at the point of just begging for a fair trial. He said, look, man, you don't even have to pardon me. You don't even have to pardon me. I just want a fair trial. Can't get that. Sorry. Try again later. Julian Assange. His father just said the other day, Julian Assange served 23 days straight of solitary confinement. Nobody has any idea why. Julian Assange is a publisher. He is not a threat to anybody. His health is deteriorating. And all he did was publish. Didn't hack anything. Didn't illegally steal anything. He just published. And once again, here we are. But hey, we love whistleblowers, right? We love whistleblowers. Oh my God, whistleblowers are amazing. Once again, if they're blowing the whistle for your side against the other team, all of a sudden everybody loves a whistleblower. But it gets even more frustrating. It's even scarier when I see progressives like myself. I didn't fall for it, but when I see progressives pushing this narrative, and those same progressives were silent and are silent on Julian Assange, were and are silent on Chelsea Manning. And if they weren't silent on Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden, it was much, much worse. They're statements you probably don't even want to hear. Take, for example, this video by Bernie. Bernie broke my heart with this video, but he broke my heart more with the second video. And we'll play both of those right now.
Let me thank the whistleblower for an extraordinary act of courage in exposing Trump's effort to use national security money for Ukraine to destroy a political opponent and then try to cover it up. Trump has used the word treasonous to describe this whistleblower. Well, let me tell you what I think treasonous activity is. It is a president who is trying to undermine the Constitution of the United States, and a president who thinks he is above the law. And that is why this impeachment inquiry has got to move forward as quickly as it possibly can.
Y'all, that broke my heart, y'all. That broke my heart. That broke my heart because, I mean, one of the Bernie's domestic policies are almost, the best bar none. It's almost indisputable. And the only one who has close to an argument is Tulsi. But when you're talking about the grand scheme of Bernie's domestic policies, just in a vacuum, just what he wants to push forward, it's almost untouchable. But one thing, I am a student of history, and I can't ignore history. FDR was fantastic on domestic policy, but FDR fell victim to a corrupt military-industrial complex, a corrupt foreign policy establishment, a corrupt wartime economy board, a corrupt intelligence community that was playing him for a fool. And when you think that your government and your economy domestically are on track, what will happen is they will drop a bomb somewhere, manufacture an economic war, which is a Cold War. Eventually it turns into a hot war. They'll point at Russia, and tell you, we got to be in Korea. Why? Because of Russia. We got to be in Afghanistan. Why? Because of Russia. We got to beat up on Iran. Why? Because of Russia. We got to beat up on Iraq. Why? Because of Russia. We got to beat up on Russia. Why? Because of Russia. We got to keep giving money to Israel. Why? Because of Russia. We got to fund neo-Nazis. Why? Because of Russia. What? We got to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia to bomb Yemen. Why? Russia, bro. Didn't we already tell you this? I thought you would have stopped asking by now. Now, that part disappointed me, and I wasn't going to, I'm like, ugh, it's so irritating, but I'm going to try not to hold it too much against him. I'm going to try not to get too upset about it. And then I saw this video.
Bernie, man. Hey, do it. Do you support Julian Assange?
Do I support Julian Assange?
Will you pardon him?
It's I can't say it's a longer
Please, sir, please.
Where are the issues?
Will you pardon him? Commute a sentence, please.
Bruh, that broke my heart. And first, let me give a shout out to Dak Rouleau. You can follow him on Twitter at Dak, D-A-C-K, Rouleau, R-O-U-L-E-A-U. That broke my heart, man. It did. Manny, thanks for the super chat. Tulsi supports the inquiry. What about impeachment? Tulsi supports the inquiry in the same sense that she supported the investigation into Russiagate. She's all about transparency, and she's of the mindset that, if there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to hide. Now, of course, I'm sure she's not naive to the political implications of all of this. That's why she made the statement that it should be swift and narrow, and we need to just get it over with. And she's made a lot of statements about not politicizing it, although, of course, it's getting politicized anyway. I personally, by the way, would not support the inquiry because of how politically, polarizing it is. And it's clearly, just a partisan agenda. It's clearly that. But especially once by the way, not everybody knew the details about all this. Like Pasta and Fiorella revealed that this investigation started over a year and some change ago, before President Zelensky got into power. This is during the Rod Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions era of the Justice Department, and they were half-stepping as well because they know all the people who were implicated in this Ukrainian scandal. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, a former member of the Ukrainian parliament, I cannot remember his name right now, but he sits on the Atlantic Council, and then he brought in, it just was crazy. There's a lot of people implicated, but this investigation started over a year ago. Nobody was cooperating. And then it ramped back up around March. And now all of a sudden, because Biden is about to take a hit along with everybody else, now everybody, wants to try to bring, and it's once again, why not just do an impeachment? Because you don't have the numbers for it. You doing an impeachment inquiry, you know what that does? It does not require Trump to testify. An inquiry is basically an investigation to figure out if it's like the investigations before they have the indictments for a cop, where you basically realize this cop ain't getting indicted. It's the same thing. You're inquiring about whether or not you should inquire. Except for one of the inquirements, like the impeachment, is an official inquiry with legal implications potentially, and therefore Trump will have to testify. And if Trump testifies, he's snitching on everybody. Believe that. Ain't nothing pettier than a politician who's been screwed over by another party. So, Manny, thanks for the super chat. The next lefty journalist needs to question Bernie on Assange, Manning, Snowden. We need his position to be fully clear. That answer is unacceptable. Yeah, I know, and I wish more people would have slammed him on that. And I think it should be understood and be made clear. When Andrew Yang gave a piss poor answer on Assange, and it was piss poor, he got ripped for it. He got ripped by us. He got ripped by the right for it. And he even got ripped by a lot of his own supporters for it. And guess what? He deserved it. If Tulsi would have wavered, I mean, obviously, if you don't know her position on Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, and Snowden, her answer is she wants to pass new laws that give safe haven to whistleblowers, and she wants to pardon all of them. So that's her answer. But if she did not give a great answer on that, oh, no, she would have gotten ripped, especially because she's the one who's supposed to be challenging the intelligence community. And she would have deserved it. But I've heard a lot of excuses for Bernie, and the excuses, once again, make no sense. Name one voter. Many people, they're one issue voters right now, and that issue is Medicare for all. That's not a bad issue to be a one issue voter about. If you were ever going to be a one issue voter, that would be the issue to be a one issue voter about. So, given that fact, how was Bernie hurting his chances by simply saying Julian Assange is a publisher, he's a journalist? If I'm in office, I will look into pardoning him if it's within my power, because we do not want to set a bad precedent of constantly and regularly violating the First Amendment based on political and partisan agendas. That is not a controversial take. I don't think so. Is it? Do y'all think it's a controversial take? I don't think so. It's a presidential take. It's a take of a leader. It's a take of somebody who is principled rather than calculating. When you say, I'm aware of that story, it's along, like, what is there to be? And it, once again, okay, maybe Assange is too controversial of a figure because he's international and that's a whole different thing. You know what? I would be less upset if you didn't do a whole thank you video. You did a whole thank you video to this fake whistleblower. Why? Because the Democrats don't like this whistleblower, or excuse me, the Democrats like this whistleblower, and therefore it's okay if you do too. The whistleblower doesn't like Trump, and you don't like Trump, and so now it's okay that we celebrate the whistleblower. But when whistleblowers like Chelsea Manning literally reveal war crimes, we're silent. Hell, in one town hall debate, Bernie said we still have, they still have to be held accountable. They still have to be prosecuted. Have y'all ever heard of the situation in Mile High where the soldiers were asked to kill a bunch of innocent villagers? And the ones who survived, they were prosecuted and they should have been. And one thing that we learned, I was a paralegal in the Army. The first thing that you learn is that if you think you can only be prosecuted if you pull the trigger on an innocent one, if you are the, if you're the sergeant or the officer, the lieutenant that pulls the trigger, you're wrong. You can get an Article 15 or be court-martialed for disobeying a lawful order, of course, but you can also get an Article 15, or you can be court-martialed for following an unlawful order that you should have reasonably known was unlawful. So in other words, if someone else, say, Chelsea Manning, what got that email chain and then she downloaded it, blah, blah, blah. If Chelsea Manning would have saw that we were allowing laws or we were violating the law, and if somebody wanted to thrust that upon her as a scapegoat while she was still in the military, guess what? They would have had a case to make against her. Because she saw that that UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, was being violated, and she didn't do anything about it. She ignored it instead of reporting it. But it's a catch-22, because if you report it to the higher ups probably know about this, and you're the one who's going to get in trouble for being involved in that chain, rather than the people who actually committed the crimes. That's how the military works. So what Chelsea Manning did was absolutely honorable and noble, because there was no way she could have come out of that on top. And she did what any person with integrity would do, I believe. Manny, thanks for the super chat. I will say that the question was an ambush question. We have to admit that. But that question warrants a 20-second answer, not a 20-second dodge. Yeah, I think we can agree that it's an ambush question. But I also think that it's just kind of important to recognize the fact that the man wasn't vulgar towards Bernie. He wasn't demanding, not in my humble opinion. He was very, he was literally begging, which is probably even worse. Like the fact that we have to beg for our front runner for the left to do something as simple as let's just take Julian Assange's name out of it. The fact that we have to beg our frontrunner on the left to do something as simple as uphold the First Amendment. That's basically what we're asking for. Please give us some peace of mind that when you're president, the First Amendment will not be subject to partisan politics. It will be enforced across the board. But that's not what we got. We didn't get that reassurance there. And we haven't gotten it from Bernie or a lot of basically everybody else on the left except for Tulsi at this point. But Bernie is the front runner. People keep saying, well, he has to stay quiet because X, Y, and Z. But I think that it needs to be understood that there are times where Bernie is being politically calculating. There are times. My problem is when it comes to the situation with Julian Assange, I don't believe he is being calculating. I do believe that he genuinely thinks that Assange is a nuisance to American politics. I do believe that he is worried that one day he might accidentally get caught up in something and Assange may reveal, or WikiLeaks may reveal, something about his candidacy. It may not be something extreme, but something small in a WikiLeaks document can become a huge topic of discussion. And when it comes to those type of things, because of the way Bernie is generally treated in the media, it just doesn't bode well for him either way, potentially. So I think that Bernie doesn't want to have to deal with what WikiLeaks can mean to a Bernie Sanders presidency one day. Remember, Bernie Sanders is not the best on foreign policy. And that's being nice about it, to be quite honest with you. But we have to push him left on the Assange issue. We have to push him left on the Manning issue, and we have to start telling him, not just us. I mean, I'm a supporter, but he's not my number one. But everybody, especially his supporters. Because if he's not going to listen to you now, if he's not going to move left now, when is he going to move left? You think after he gets the Oval Office? You don't move left after you get the Oval Office. I think that should be pretty apparent at this point. You move right you run as far left as you can, and you because you have to move right just for the sake of compromise to get anything done. You have to move right. Just so it's the nature of the beast in that regard. So if he's already on the bandwagon of silence on Assange, silence as Assange they're trying to extradite Assange right now. And this is the Trump administration. You could speak up against the Trump administration. But he sent out that one tweet, and that was basically the end of that story. And he didn't even mention Assange's name. So guess what that lets the deep state know? Look what we can get away with under the Bernie Sanders presidency. And guess what? They will. They will use it to their advantage. Once again, I feel like it can't be stressed enough. So for example, when Tulsi talked about when she did her initial 9/11 video, some of you may remember I did a video right after that critiquing her and trying to move her left on that rhetoric because of how it can be perceived and used against her by the intelligence community, by the military industrial complex. It was a long 25 minute video because I'm cognizant that if Tulsi feels that way now or speaks that way now, given what I know about history, she will not move left when she gets into office. She will naturally move right because that's what history has shown us. And if I cannot push Tulsi left, if you cannot push Tulsi left, if her support base cannot move her left on that issue or any other issue right now, we have absolutely no chance of pushing her left when she steps foot in that Oval Office. That's every candidate. They listen to us. They do. But you have to start now. Not when the ego gets involved. Not when the legacy is being checked. Not then. It has to be now. Let's speak up for real whistleblowers, and let's call BS on nonsense like what we're seeing right now with this quote unquote whistleblower that actually didn't reveal anything significant whatsoever. So, with that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of MCSC Casa. Thank you very much for all the super chats. Much love. Yeah, share this video, like it, make sure you're still subscribed. It's weird. We've been getting a lot of views and we've been getting a lot of subscribers, and we're also losing a lot of subscribers, and people keep telling me they're getting forced to unsubscribe. And then when they click the subscribe button, it actually isn't even registering for them to subscribe. Like, it's not allowing the button to allow them to subscribe. So just go make sure. Manny, thanks for the super chat once again. We need an answer on when he will pull troops out of Afghanistan and Iraq, his position on sanctions, his position on Assange, Manning, and Snowden. No lefty journalist needs to let him get away with the dodging. 100% agree. And once again, by the way, as a avid Tulsi supporter, that goes double for her when it comes to foreign policy, because that's what she's running on. So if she gave a piss poor, lackluster answer on either of those things, we would be having the same exact discussion. Had that discussion with Marianne Williamson, had that discussion with Andrew Yang, and of course all the other establishment candidates who have been echoing that same nonsense. And so of course, when it comes to our left champions, our progressive champions, we cannot cut them slack when it comes to, that should be a slam dunk, or at the very bare minimum, a point blank layup right there. But people keep missing their shot. Totally unnecessary. So thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of MCSC Casa. And always remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of MCSC Casa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember, find your balance. Peace.